Good morning, Yasha Allah. Peace and blessing to you, the house of Yahawada. Indeed, the whole house of Yasha Allah. But as it is, Yahawada, or Judah, being the head of all the tribes, we have the heavy responsibility of leading the charge for the war effort of our nation. And thus, we come this morning to continue with the sealing time word. And today, we offer you, Yasha Allah, and to the whole world that are desirous of being updated on the debacle that is going on between the children of Yasha Allah and the fake Jews, who are the synagogue of Satan, according to Revelation chapters 2:9-9. And so, having been set free according to the prophecies of Bereshith, that declares that the seed of Abraham would be in bondage for a 400-year period that is unprecedented anywhere else in the annals of eternity and of world history. What happened to the seed of Abraham in the 400 years enslavement process? Yes, we come to continue the revelation on or about the sealing time. And we want to note, first of all, that the enemy who had to release us according to the 400 years prophecy demand of Bereshith chapter 15, I believe the chapter is, have also sought to double back on the matter of release of the 12 tribes from slavery, to re-enslave them according to their wording, the wording of the enemy Esau, that they would like to conduct another 500-year enslavement exercise of the 12 tribes, home, from their own view, from their viewpoint. They had destroyed them in the 400-year exercise of enslavement. And we note, of course, the effort to date, the effort to wipe out or ease the understanding and the reception of the knowledge of what happened, what occurred in those 400 years of brutal, unprecedented enslavement under Edom, Esau, who was shown in Bereshith chapter 25 to be the Edom that despised birthright and turned like a serpent to come and fight for what he threw away. And thus, our position, in spite of the fact that the birthright offering was realized in Hamashiach, our Malach. He came on time, according to the prophecy, that he would be born a king in Yasha'Allah, in the ancient rendering of the land of Israel. But I have to be cautious with that word because the usurpers, Edom, that is, have attached themselves to that name, whereas it is not a proper name in any case. We are of Yaakov or Yaakov, Yasha'Allah. That's who we are. In the capacity of 12 tribes. And you would probably remember my quip about the one tribe presentation of Esau in the land today. One tribe presenting itself as the bearer of 12 tribes. What a shame! What a sham! What an abrasive affront into the face of the Most High. But yet here we are to do battle with this enemy that despises birthright and turns as a serpent to fight. Once the birthright offering was realized in Hamashiach as the son of Abraham, to whom the Most High swore that he would make of Abraham a great nation. Once that birthright blessing and offering has been realized and fought against and exterminated according to the Roman presentation of the Nicene Creed, once that birthright offering that his Hamashiach had come forward and was treated according to the description of him in so many passages in our scriptures. Seeing that it was accomplished to the delight of Esau, Rome, and Herod, Rome. Once they had the thunderous privilege to mishandle this birthright offering that came according to the prophecy and according to the fact of Esau rejecting the birthright offering, in which he would have been one of his offspring would have been the one to be crucified on the stake for the sin of his world that he would be the government of. You remember the book of Isaiah? Unto us a son is born, a child is born, that is, and a son is given, and the government to be upon his shoulders. This is what would have been said of Esau. But it could not be said of Esau because he despised it and threw it away. And hence, it fell to Jacob, our forefather, by the oath that the Most High Yahweh swore unto Abraham that he would do this thing, to raise up a nation. And the nation came to be of a 12-tribe heritage that would be the incubator and the support community for the Mashiach. And so, having lost the birthright, thrown it away, and the birthright offering having been accepted and embraced by Jacob, and so we see how the stage was set and how the ongoing of the unfolding of the need, the effort, the principles supporting and directing and exposing the true birthright. Indeed, the birthright main objective, which was to produce the Messiah that would take away the sin of the world. All this Esau rejected, did not want. And yet, once the Mashiach came, in the days of Pilate and Herod the king, and they, Edom, with the help of Levi, destroyed him at Calvary, set him at naught. I mean, the handling of him is a testament to the hatred of Gadriel himself, Satan, who was behind the operation as the father of Esau. He had become by right of rejection of the birthright and taking on the task of opposing the coming forth of the true birthright offering that was Hamashiach, our mother. And so then, what we are experiencing today, even as a part of the birthright heritage, we have already earned, I think I could put it that way, by the authority of the Mashiach, who was the principal offering of the birthright unto Jacob. He, the one that was crucified, died, and buried according to the Nicene Creed of Rome, of Edom, of Esau. This Mashiach that has set us free of 400 years unprecedented, brutal enslavement of the 12 tribes in general, yes, and with emphasis on the house of Judah or Yehoiada, in principle, Judah or Yehoiada, the one who is facing off with Esau or leading the charge for the nation of the 12 tribes to secure the Bill of Rights, may I say, according to the declarations of Ezekiel, you remember in Ezekiel chapter 9, that speaks of, that shows forth the sealing. Remember that? Remember, Ezekiel is also in the time frame of the Babylonian captivity, and his work is incorporated with all the works of our prophets in those times under the Babylonian captivity. Has that great and apocalyptic vision of the destruction of the 12 tribes and the great scattering, the coming back together, the dry bones. He was prefiguring the time of the release, the time of the, what do we call it? Well, to use a more common phrase, to deal with the setting free of the house of Judah in particular, or directly, that has come to include all the tribes, the rest of the tribes, whom we are shown that they all, the southern tribe of Yehoiada or Judah, and the northern tribes of, the 10 tribes, all suffered together. And thus, in the sealing time that we are in, this sealing time is the joint property of both the houses of Yasha'Allah, whom the Mashiach was put forth as the child that was born to be king. In Isaiah, unto us a child is born and a son is given. This was the promise made to Abraham. And Esau rejected, wanted nothing to do with it, and turned around. And through a war machinery, the building, the creation of a nuclear arsenal to assist with his bogus and false claim of being the people in the land today, as I speak and share with you. Esau has set up a war machinery to assist him under Satan himself, and with the help of Levi, as despicable as Edom himself. Levi, despicable pieces of garbage, that have set himself to fight against the Mashiach. And we are shown in the book of Thessalonians what his end must be. In the book of Thessalonians, dealing with the so-called man of sin, that's Levi. And his future is well proclaimed by the Mashiach himself. But to continue with the double-edged sword of a seal. As we were saying, Ezekiel was a part of the captivity unto Babylon. And now, being freed, he also prophesied of the sealing that Zerubbabel and the rest of that entourage of Yasharites, that this sealing business that they undertook with the command of the kings, the heathen kings, to their command to assist the word of the Most High that had already gone forth, that the house of Yahweh was to be freed. And so they set themselves to the business of freeing the tribes, and they had to set up a physical documentation of a physical apparatus that would show from a governmental standpoint that these people were freed, albeit by the command of the Most High that led the king and the kings in their deliberation to assist and gave grant to the proclamation of the freedom of the house of Yahweh. So the book of Hezekiel provides an important addition to the sealing exercise that had to be done for the freedom of the house of Yahweh from Babylon. We are in the new Babylon, the new creation of Babylon. In as much as the old Babylon got some assistance from Esau, as he made his trek, his winding trek from Greece into Africa, into Mizraim, to study the enslavement processes of Mizraim that the pharaohs had done upon the 12 tribes. They studied it and came back to their living quarters. Well, not quite. They set up their engines through Alexander of Macedon, Philip, Edomites, and the process of acquiring the aim or the end of what their goal was, to oppose the Most High, to oppose the birthright offering that they despised in Bereshith, and to exterminate, as far as they were concerned, exterminate the birthright offering, who was the Mashiach, that Rome, Esau, sought to obliterate at Calvary, at the crucifixion, on the stake, as witnessed by the Nicene Creed. And so we also, as a part of that Operation Obliteration, that's the name of it. That's our name that we give to it. Esau's work. It was an operation of obliteration against the 12 tribes, enslavement, in the 400 years enslavement. Operation Obliteration. That was their aim, because they had signed themselves over to accomplish destruction of the birthright blessing that was prophesied early from Bereshith. I mean, well, earlier than that, but we're looking at the actual process of the fulfillment of it in the making of the 12 tribes through the oath that was sworn unto Abraham, our father, by the Most High himself. And so here we are, having come through the 400 years of brutal enslavement and been made light of, been how should I put it? Well, put it as it is. Having been made light of, fun of by the whole world society. I'm speaking of this world that we live in now. This whole world society has made light of us, but with a cautious eye on the enslavement processes that was witnessed by the whole world, as is witnessed by Esau's Nicene Creed, that shows his pride in having fulfilled his mission of opposition to the birthright, that he now, is busy laying claim to. In our modern times, we have seen the work or heard of the work of Esau going around in the vicinity of the nations of the East, in Africa, in Ethiopia, and such places, gathering folks to be a part of the regathering of Yasha'Allah. Esau calls it the regathering of the scattered of Israel, whereas him, not even being a tribe, he, represents to himself and shows this to the world that he is the 12 tribes. He is the 12 tribes, and hence he has gone forth in the Eastern world. That is here on earth where we are. I think I said it before, we are, as it were, a stone throw from our homeland in Yasha'Allah, that they call Israel today. They call it the Middle East. This is the land that has been under dispute. This is the land of the heritage that Esau despised and has turned around under the directive of Satan to set up a war machinery, a war arsenal of destruction, of unprecedented destruction in the history of the earth. This is what he has set up to prop up his claim that he is the chosen nation, that he, one individual, is the chosen nation that comprises 12 tribes. I want you to see the fallacy. So, but you see now, the sealing time of which we speak and represent is the dividing principle in this whole matter. Whereas it has a physical component to it, it has indeed the origins of a heavenly order and a mandate from the Most High himself. And thus, we see the double-edged sword of the ceiling under the exercise of the ceiling, according to Ezekiel, who was a part of the captivity, and the return, those that return to the homeland, the ceiling exercise was set up. The physical side and the spiritual side that was put under the execution of the Malachims of the Most High. And they received the command. The Most High's war machinery goes throughout the city and look for everyone upon whom is the mark. Seal him. You remember that? This was a part of the Babylonian captivity exercise and the release of the house of Yehoiada from the enslavement, from that time of enslavement. And so likewise, as it is now, with Esau having completed his mission to destroy the birthright blessing, the genuine birthright blessing, he now has gone about the lands of the East, and wherever he deemed it necessary to go and proclaim a returning to the land of Yasha'Allah that he calls Israel, and the people who are perceived as having the authority to, what should I say, litigate concerning the return of the scattered of the 12 tribes. He's put himself, he's set up what you call a security watch, a security gate, to have himself be approached with the matter of return to the land. And this is what we are studying in the case of Zerubbabel and Yeshua, the high priest, and those men that were representing the interests of Yasha'Allah, in particular the house of Yehoiada. And we find that there were two components that were required to effect the sealing. It was in fact required by demand that those that were proposed to be eligible for sealing should be bona fide, blood-born of the house of Yasha'Allah. And particular at that time, the reference was to the house of Judah, the house of Yehoiada. So they had to show, it had to be shown and known that these people that were being secured to receive their departure certificate, if I may, they're the departure of certification from Babylon. It had to be shown that they were Yasharites indeed, from the house of Yehoiada. This is what the sealing entailed, that there was a physical component to the heavenly claim, the heavenly command and demand that there be a sealing from the heavenly command upon those who have received the mark of the Most High, that they should be sealed for release from the captivity. And then you had the physical application to the matters at hand that were carried on by our forefathers. We mentioned Joshua, the high priest, and his compatriots. All were concerned with the matter of the release of the house of Yahweh from Babylonian captivity. And so they set up the guard post, if I may, the official representative or representation of the tribes that would verify people that were being released from the captivity. So hence the sealing, because they were going to seal bona fide citizens of the nation of Yasharahla. This is what the sealing was all about. Then and now, the physical part of the sealing today is in the way of obstruction, or as a matter of the principle of release from the captivity and the principle of return back to the homeland is a matter of contest, because Satan and Esau and Levi have set it to be so. But we looking at the requirements and the principle. That is a two-edged sword when you look at it, because the people had to be bona fide and known to be children of Yasharahla. And the people who were verifying them for the purpose of the king's signature to be added to the request and the requirement for release from the captivity, the representation of the people, or those who were representing the people to the king, that his signature should be on the seal. They had to be bona fide members of the captivity, bona fide members, relations to the people of the captivity. So there was no way to fake it. You had the people, the actual people who themselves were the captives, and you had their representation from themselves, the leaders that represented them to the king, who had received a mandate from the Most High himself. You remember the command to Koresh or Cyrus to create the situation for the release of the tribes. And so it was not only the recognition of the people at large, but the recognition of the people by their rulers that was affixed to the seal that the king ratified. You see? And so we look at our situation today where the time of our release is at hand. Well, who's sitting in the seat of the authority, if you will, to affix or attach to the seal, to the sealing of the tribes? Who is there to ratify this? Who but the devil himself, and the ones who were utterly and totally concerned with the obliteration of the birthright blessing of the Mashiach. Those are the ones in the modern land of what we call Israel. Yasha'Allah. Today, across the road from where I sit in Grand Bahama, Freeport, Grand Bahama, down the road from our ancient homeland, over across Africa there. That's where the land is. That's where our return has to be. And so we are in this modern massive effort of the devil himself. I'm speaking of the one that fell from the Shamayim and his helpers and his servant Esau, with the help of Levi again. They have come together to set up a blockage against your return, against our return. And this is the matter at hand right now. And so the thing is for us as Yasha'Allah to be able to represent our case in the name of the Mashiach, who is our king, who makes the final representation, and who represents our claim. He is the one, the Mashiach. And so our plea, our need to be granted reparations has to come under his portfolio, our king, Malak Yahweh Shai, or Yahuwah, as some might say. And in the same breath, I want to mention that I believe it is fitting for us of Yasha'Allah to upgrade the Feast of Atonement in view of the fact that the Mashiach, our Mashiach, in view of the fact that he has ascended last year. Hear me carefully. Last year at Yom Kippur, Mashiach ascended into the most set apart to fulfill the high priestly calling that he was mandated to fulfill. The mandate to fulfill this order and this mission has been hotly contested, fought against by no less than Satan himself and the people of his choosing, Esau, Rome, what have you, modern Israeli today. These are the opposers to the will of the Most High in the exercise of the law of return to our homeland today. as it was in the old days with the captivity, the Babylonian captivity then. And so the need has been to secure verification. As I was showing to you, the verification is a two-edged sword, because not only the people who are presented for deliverance have to be verified as who they are, but those who make the representation for them to be released has to be of themselves to verify them. So there can be no who would have been over the territory where they had been in captivity, having verified the king who was over the captivity, having verified from the people themselves, from their leaders, that they were indeed the ones chosen to be liberated and to be returned back to their homeland and to their place of abode. This has had to be an internal audit that was taking place. Who can do the internal audit, the physical internal audit for us today? Can it be the synagogue of Satan? Who's going to do this verification for us as a part of our nation, as part of our nationality? For they are claiming in a misnomer that they are the people. Can they be the one that we should file up to and say we have come to present ourselves under the law of return to come back to our nation? Would they do it? According to what we have already, what we have experienced already, we know that they're not going to do it, or at least that they don't want to do it. Let me put it that way. That's the proper way. They don't want to do it, and all their intent is to block it and to stop it. Therefore, they have created a nuclear arsenal to assist them physically from there with their how else could I put it? With their non-claim claim that they are the people, and being the people as they claim. When were they scattered out? And when were they brutalized by the nations around them? For 400 years. And when did their Messiah become the property of a satanic state to destroy him by crucifixion? When did this happen? Where's the evidence? It cannot be the evidence provided by our Mashiach, which of course they falsely what they claim to, that as well as their triumphant claim of crucifying him, which was their aim at the beginning of the birthright blessing. So I started to say then that in the verification exercise, or because of the fact that the Mashiach, our Mashiach, being our head, our king, and as the one who got for us our release from the captivity of 400 years brutality and being our king, yet the one who is leading us on to total victory, as he is our head. It is my view that the Day of Atonement, that was the official day of presenting the case of Yasha Allah before the Most High to receive forgiveness for sins. That has been fulfilled in Mashiach to the fullest extent. And therefore, that fulfillment cannot be, viewed as a matter that has to be done, as was the case in Yasha Allah, that every year, the lamb had to be slain to atone for the sins. But Mashiach, according to the book of Ibrahim or Hebrews, once he offered himself as atonement for us. Once. And he does it no more. The case is closed of our salvation. And therefore, we, as Yasha Allah, should see to it, I believe, we should see to it that he is enshrined in the Day of Atonement official acknowledgement. I'm speaking of to the 12 tribes. I believe this would be a wonderful matter for us to consider and to enshrine it in the nation, in the national interests. Exactly how we're going to word it, I think we could have a council to determine exactly how to word it. The matter of his ascension to the priesthood to officiate on our behalf until there be no need for such an offering. But he's one in place to officiate eternal salvation for us, for Yasha Allah. And therefore, I think we need to upgrade the manner of our recognition of him. Exactly how to word it, I don't know if I have that sorted out yet. I think we could have a council in Yasha Allah to sort it out and show forth by, for instance, like the day of Yom Kippur was instituted. I think that's it. In the time of Hadassah, when the wicked one tried to slaughter our nation, and because of the works of our forefather and his niece Hadassah, the nation was secured, and so the day was instituted as a day of celebration unto the Most High and within the nation to celebrate the victory that was granted unto them unto us. And so the Mashiach, being the ultimate offering and the one securing all our rights and privileges, I believe it is proper for us to update the Day of Atonement, the exercise of the Day of Atonement, to include the name of the Mashiach in such a way to have him enshrined more or less as the patron saint. Let's use some of Esau's word. I think he understands that. To show forth the Mashiach as the patron saint of the Day of Atonement. On behalf of the Most High and on behalf of the 12 tribes. We have to sort that out, brethren. Whether we say, and for the Day of Atonement, we give it the Day of Atonement of the Messiah, something such. So I'm throwing it out there for Yasha to consider it and give the consent for the exaltation of our Mashiach, of his authority over the nation, 12 tribes. Okay, so we see the double-edged sword of the seal, of the sealing, that it had to be, the sealing has to be inclusive of the nation itself, that is to be sealed, and inclusive of those who were exercising themselves in the process of securing this seal. They also had to be of the nation. They had to be of the same bloodline. This is the point I'm making with you. You see? That's the point at issue. And whereas Esau has thought to represent himself, or have himself represented as the bloodline representative of us who are of the Mashiach. You see the fallacy in that, in terms of securing the seal, the sealing. He's not of our bloodline. To give verification of the sealing, or of the seal of who we are. Because his whole agenda is to deny and disqualify, to throw away and obliterate the facts of the matter of who the Mashiach is as the principal title or titular head that should be represented in the sealing of the 12 tribes, which you know that his whole being is opposed to that, in line with the nature of his leader, Gadriel the Fallen, with his entourage of demonic, destructive powers and spirits. They're all in the mix to prevent the sealing from being properly managed and executed. So we show you that those who are offering themselves for being sealed, and the ones who are verifying them for sealing, have to be of one blood, of one bloodline, one people. It is not an outside issue. So therefore, Esau is left out from that exercise. He can exercise a privilege that would be reminiscent of a kingly privilege to say, yeah, with these people are, they're verified as who they are and eligible to be set free. He could do that as a legal gesture in the eyes of the world that we live in. But with Satan, that would not be forthcoming. Well, I shouldn't say no, but normally that would not be forthcoming. So his aim is still to put himself forward to the eyes of the world that he is this 12th tribe. That he's the 12th tribe that is mentioned in scriptures. And he should be seen as the one eligible to return to the land. Unlaughable. When was he scattered out? When was he scattered out? No record, no proof, no nothing. So but I give this to you, Yasha'Allah, to understand how important the seal and the sealing is. It has to come then from our elder brother, Mashiach, and our king. He has the final say concerning the sealing on our behalf. Whether Esau recognizes it, gives in to it, or what? We have the proof in our records of what is to be done. And so then, here we stand. Here we stand. Our hope is in Abba Yahweh and in his sovereign rulership and his authority to overrule in any matter, in any part of the cosmos, hence in any part of this earth. He has the final say. He has the authoritative commanding position to give the truth on any matter and to give a righteous declaration on the behalf of those who seek to be declared righteous and right in their requests, whatsoever it be. Ours is to have our reparations and dislocation from the beast and from the hands of Edom. It's in the hand of our Mashiach. The double-edged sword of a seal is that the people that are to be sealed and those recommending them to be sealed for sealing, those recommending them for sealing are their own heads, their own people. is not in the purview of Esau. As a world government, it's maybe the nuclear bomb has to be put to his throat to tell him, yeah, sign this right here, that these people be free and go. That's the position we are essentially brought to. And so Esau is able to sit in the high tower and twiddle his thumb and think to himself, I got him now. I got him now. And the declaration of war is imminent, since Esau would not willingly, back himself out of the way. Then he has to be removed by force, as the book of the 13th tribe declares, that it would take genocide to move him. That's what Custer says. That's not what the scripture says. But in any case, whatever it takes, our King, Mashiach, stands the victor. And you see how Edom has tried to hold on to him, latch themselves onto him, whom they have destroyed in the crucifixion and disowned at every angle. You see how they try to cling to him, and I say he belongs to them. What an evil bunch. But there you have it. I've laid the particulars before you, before the whole world, before the entire globe, to see what the issues are concerning our repatriation to a homeland. That is right across the road. I'm in Grand Bahama, Bahamas, and Africa and the homeland of Yasha'Allah that they call Israel, not far away. So, the exercise that we are dealing with recognizable matters to all and sundry. This is not some sky, some sky operation. This is concerning us here on the earth, living here today. And so the coming of the Mashiach is imminent. Hold on, Yasha'Allah. Let's hold the fort, because he's coming. He's coming to do his work according to what is shown to be mandated by the opposition forces. He's coming, and his reward is with him to give to those their due. Honor to whom honor, death and destruction to whom it is due. This is the prerogative of our master, our King, Mashiach. Be faithful, Yasha'Allah. Be faithful, brethren, to the coming of our Mashiach and our Master, whom we praise, to the honor of the Father, Abba Yahweh, in the blessed Ruach. Bless you, Yasha'Allah. Bless you. Bless you. So let it be.